been a phenom. People, every bass angler now has tried a Senko. They've all used it, and many of them use it consistently every day. But the design, the idea behind it, that's what's really fascinating. Tell me a little bit about where the idea came from, how you came up with the Senko.
Well, the Senko was my effort to emulate the sluggo.
Yeah.
I was in Florida and people cast that sluggo and jerk it around and we'd get hit. But it was really difficult to catch a fish on it because it was so hard. And so I said I wanted something that would be soft in my plastic that I could jerk around. And so it was designed as a jerk bait. And it works. But then a buddy of mine says, well, all you have to do is cast it and let it sit, and they'll come and eat it. You can't be. So the next tournament I fished was at Toledo Bend, and I saw a bed and a bass on it. I said, all right, I'm going to get him. And so I cast, and I missed the bed by 4 feet. I said, oh, my goodness, what's he going to do? The bait fell down, hit the side of his bed, not even in his bed. And I saw that fish come out, eat it, or pick it up and go back to his bed. Hey, this is something else, no other bait will do that. So that's where I got my confidence in it. And nowadays, I guess if bass angler doesn't have a Senko in his tackle box, he's really hasn't fished very much at all.
And there's so many ways to fish it now. Wacky rig is probably the most popular and well known, but you can drop shot it, you can put it behind a split shot, you can put it on a jig head. There's so many different ways. You can put it on a trailer on some baits. I mean, it's like the more you experiment with it, the more ways you find bass really are attracted to it. It's become an extremely popular bait, but you're not stopping there. You have more products that are coming out now. So tell me a little bit about what's coming out pretty soon here for the consumer from Yamamoto.
Well, really, I'm not too much involved anymore with the new stuff. I have a time just trying to keep my own head and designs going, but I play around with the jig heads, and I spend quite a bit of time in saltwater. So I've played with the speckled trout and the redfish, and it doesn't matter whether it's a redfish or a bass, they'll eat those plastic baits. And so that's what I play around with, and I have a big staff of people that are trying to design new things, so they still think, quote, new product, new sales. But the basis of all this company is that we sell the hula grub, which was one of my starting baits, the grub, the Senko. They're still the primary part of my business. And it's amazing. I travel all over and you see people saying, oh, I use the Senko and I love it. And then the other guy down the way says, the hula grub caught me all these fish. And so I guess I'm fortunate. My lures are not a come and go type of deal. They are for hopefully eternity,
Well, Gary, you sure have established the Yamamoto brand in the bass fishing community and other types of species that are out there. I don't think it's going anywhere soon. It's still some of the most popular baits that are out there. I just want to thank you for making such an impact on the industry and helping anglers out there catch fish and enjoy the sport more and more, making it so easy. You've done a great job. Thank you so much for being with us today. Guys, Gary Yamamoto, you got to use his products. You have to, because if you're not, then you're not catching.
There we go, the commonly misunderstood finesse jig. Now, starting off, what characteristics make a jig finesse? Now, the four main categories of jigs, you have football jig, finesse jig, swim jig, and your standard casting jig or your Arky style jig. But what makes a jig finesse? The first thing is that finesse jigs are usually a lower average weight and overall size than most other jigs out there. So you can have a finesse jig with a football head, a finesse jig with an Arky head, a finesse jig with a ball head. As long as the jig has less skirt material, usually is a lighter size head, and just an overall more compact package, that can be a finesse jig technically. because while most regular jigs range in size from, I'd say, 3/8 ounce to 5/8, even up to a 1 ounce jig, finesse jigs are usually 3/16 up to 3/8, maybe a half an ounce. That would be a heavy finesse jig. The second factor that makes a finesse jig finessey is that usually it has a thinner, more flared out skirt. Now this can come in many different forms. If you search finesse jig on Tackle Warehouse, you're gonna find a bunch of different ones out there. That's why I said the term finesse jig is kind of a blanket category for just a smaller presentation, but the skirt material, at least on this one right here, the Outcast Tackle V2 Finesse, my favorite one out there, the skirt material is thinner than your average